Today we are going to make and decorate a Lychee Rose Chiffon Cake. I'm also going to show you how to make roses and leaves with chiffon cake. Let's get started. First we have to prepare some lychee puree. I'm using this canned lychee in syrup. Squeeze out as much syrup as possible and get 75 grams of lychee. It takes about 10 to 12 lychee for this. Transfer to a blender and puree them. If you don't have a small blender, just chop them finely with a knife. We are going to use 50 grams for the cake and 25 grams for the whipped cream frosting. Next, prepare some edible rose petals. Chop them into smaller pieces. If you don't like rose flavor, you can simply skip the rose petals and extract and just make this into a lychee cake. Also, line a sheet pan with parchment paper. Now let's make the cake. First, mix the oil and flour. First, combining the oil and flour won't develop gluten. You can stir it any way you want and you don't have to sieve the flour neither. Now add the lychee puree, lychee syrup, egg yolks, and rose extract. Stir until all well combined. Add a little bit of red food color in there. You can skip this step if you don't mind the color being dull or if you are only making lychee cake. Now let's whip the egg whites. Add cream of tartar to the egg whites and beat on high speed. Cream of tartar can stabilize the meringue. If you don't have it, you can add a small teaspoon of lemon juice or vinegar instead. You can also use a hand mixer for this. Both methods will work just fine. When you see big bubbles forming, add a third of the sugar. Continue to beat on high speed. When the foam becomes finer and silkier, you can add another third of the sugar. Continue to beat on high speed. The foam will continue to get silkier, and you will start to see some trails. At this point, you can add the remaining sugar and beat on medium-high speed. Continue beating until you see some stiff peaks. After lifting the whisk, the meringue is stable and firm, and the peak will not trip. Scoop about 1/3 of the egg whites to the batter and fold it in gently. This is to lighten the batter initially and prepare it for the rest of the egg whites. Once it's mixed well, change to a spatula and pour it into the egg whites. Continue to fold gently until it's all combined. Repeat this movement until the batter is homogeneous. Don't overdo it. Scoop half cup of the batter out and color it green. Next, scoop 1.5 cup of batter out and color it red. Transfer them into the lined sheet pan, flatten it so it's more even in thickness. This is light between 1/2 inch to 1 inch, a very thin layer. You can use any sheet pan you have available. My pan is 10 by 13 inches, and as you can see there are some empty space left. For the remaining batter, fold in the rose petals. Transfer the batter to a standard chiffon cake pan. Shake it, tap it a couple of times to get rid of the big bubbles, and draw a few circles with a toothpick to flatten the surface. Place in the preheated oven and bake at 300 degrees. Take the sheet cake out after 15 minutes. You can test it by first inserting a toothpick in it to see if it comes out clean to make sure it is done. Once it's out, transfer it onto a cooling rack and let it cool off completely. Continue to bake the round cake for 35 more minutes. Personally, I prefer to bake it at 300 degrees for 25 more minutes, then increase the temperature to 320 degrees and bake for 5 more minutes. This is after a few testings with my oven as oven temperature varies. If I just bake it at 300 degrees for 50 minutes, even though it's perfectly baked, the top of the cake will be a bit sticky after it's cooled. So if you have the same problem, you can do the same switch. Once it's out of the oven, tap it on the table once, then cool it upside down. It will take 2 to 3 hours to cool completely. The sheet cake is now cool and we will make some roses and leaves. Use a rolling pin to flatten the sheet cake a little more. Prepare some round cutters and some leaf cutters. If you don't have a leaf cutter, just cut out leaf shapes with a knife. Now cut out as many rounds and leaves as you can get from the cake. You can use any size round cutters you have available. Bigger rounds make bigger flowers, and smaller rounds make smaller ones. You will need 3 rounds to make 1 flower. 2 rounds will work too if you don't have enough at the end. Next, prepare some marshmallow glue. Put 1 piece of marshmallow in a bowl, add a teaspoon of water, then heat it in the microwave for 15 seconds. Now we have some glue. Cut the rounds in half, then apply some glue and overlap the semicircles. Now apply glue across them and roll them up tightly. And here it is. Cake flour is actually very easy. The marshmallow cream works like a super glue. The flour will just stay the way it is after you roll it up tight. But for any reason, if your petals are not sticking, you can secure it by either inserting a toothpick at the openings or sit this in a mini cupcake pan to hold the shape until they are set. Leaves are even more simple. You can just leave them as is or give the end a quick squeeze to create a more realistic look. Set this aside when done. Now that the cake is cool, remove it from the pan carefully, then slice it into 3 layers. Remember to flatten top as well. Let's make the whipped cream frosting. Combine the heavy cream, rose extract, powdered sugar, and lychee puree in the mixing bowl and whip on high speed until it thickens. This is good. Let's start decorating. Apply a little bit of cream at the bottom to secure the cake to the cake board. Apply a layer of lychee rose whipped cream frosting on it. You can also add some diced lychee in the layers if you like. But if you do, you will need more than a can of lychee because I used up the entire can of lychee for this cake without adding extra diced lychee in the cake layers. The top layer is usually the bottom of the cake. This is because it's usually the flattest part and will be easier to frost. Cover the entire cake with the lychee rose whipped cream. For this cake, I'm just going to make it into a semi-naked cake. Because there are very tiny pieces of lychee in the cream, it is not going to look smooth anyway. Transfer the remaining cream into a piping bag fitted with a larger star tip. Now pipe some cream on top, then add the roses, leaves, and lychee however you like. And for the finishing touch, add some rose petals on the side. Dust some powdered sugar on top when you're ready to serve to bring out the petals texture even more. And this is now completed. Thanks so much for watching.